Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. This one's going to be relatively simple, but I just wanted to show you guys my cards real quick. Some of my decks that I have in here. Some of them are fake cards, some of them are real, like the Mirror Knight Calling card that Darts uses. And then, you know, I have real cards too, like Dimension Reflector and stuff like that. But I collect a lot of my my fake and real cards in here. I apologize if the video is quieter than usual. Final exams are going on, and I don't want to be too loud for the people around me. But yeah, today we're just gonna go into maybe one or two decks, and then we'll see how that goes. So I'm thinking for the first deck today, I was gonna go through the New Order cards. They are used by Eliphas in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal anime. And I got these from a seller on Etsy. Gaia Aura Cards, I think his name is. I get a lot of my cards, my custom cards from him, even ones that I designed myself. So be sure to check him out because he's got some really good products. So for the most part, this deck is it's all shuffled up because I've used it before in just like fun duels. But you know, we'll go over the main deck first, and we'll leave the main course for afterwards, the extra deck. So we have a copy of Rank Domination. I don't remember how many are in this deck specifically, but feel free to pause the video if you want to read the card text. I do know there are 3 copies of Mysterious Monolith, and it's even better than it was in the anime, allowing you to add an Etheric or Mysterious card from your deck to your hand. This is a new card that Eliphas did not use in its Rank Up Magic Etheric Force, so this is good for your New Order monsters. We've got a copy of Solid Overlay. I know there are 3 copies in here. This is basically Mysterious Monolith without the search ability, so this deck doesn't use a lot of monsters, so using these for the Xyz summons is very important. Now we have Rank Up Magic Astral Force. This is different than it is in the anime. I mean, in the real-life card game. Very important card, and it's easy to search out with this deck, and I'll show you soon. I believe we have 3 copies of Xyz Reborn. That'll be good for recycling your destroyed monsters. We have Rank Up Advantage. So when an Xyz monster is special summoned by a Rank Up Magic spell, you get to draw a card, and then negate the effects of an opponent's monster that is targeted by an attack by an Xyz monster special summoned by a Rank Up Magic spell. So that would be really good. Ascension Spiral. This is basically Rank Up Magic Astral Force if your monster was destroyed. One of the new cards that he came out with, there are like Etheric main deck monsters in this deck, so a lot of them are about special summoning copies of themselves, so that way they can go into their Xyz plays quickly. Other than that, they're not really useful. They're mostly to get your extra deck monsters out. I believe we went over Rank Domination. Yep, we did. Ascension Spiral, Etheric Sphinx. Also to get your extra deck plays going, Etheric Amit. Rank Wall. This trap is very, very important for this deck, and the boss monster is actually in the card art, so that's interesting. Etheric Force, Mysterious Monolith, Xyz Reborn, another Etheric monster that's used for your extra deck plays. Mysterious Obelisk is a new card that Eliphas did not use in the anime. So all monsters you control gain 300 attack and defense, and then you can treat it as an overlay unit for a rank 4 or 5 Xyz monster when you Xyz summon. Astral Force, Xyz Treasure, draw a card for each Xyz monster you control. It's basically like Card of Sanctity for the Zexal anime. Mysterious Mirror. When a monster declares an attack, monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. Also, your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from this battle, so that's fun. So that's all the main deck cards. I'm not sure how many copies are in each deck, but you can always check out the other videos that he has where he goes through the decks. I'm mostly here to give my my opinion on the cards after. So, New Order 4, Etheric Anubis. So when this card is Xyz summoned, you can add a rank up spell card from your deck to your hand, which would obviously be either rank up Magic Etheric Force or rank up Magic Astral Force. And then it has its anime effect, where if a spell or trap is destroyed, you can detach a material to set that card in your spell trap zone, and if it was a trap card, it can be activated the same turn. So you get 3 copies of those guys, which is the most important Xyz monster you have in this deck. Now, there are newer cards too. New Order 5, Etheric Sekhmet, and be sure to let me know if I'm mispronouncing these, because I probably am. 2 level 5 monsters. You can Xyz summon this card by using 1 New Order monster you control with a different name. So Etheric Anubis, or literally any other Etheric monster, but Etheric Anubis would probably be the most beneficial. All monsters your opponent controls lose 300 attack and defense while this monster is on the field. Once per turn, you can detach a material, target 2 face-up cards on the field, shuffle those into the deck. I think that's a super powerful effect, all things considered, and it's incredibly easy to use. And even if these cards were real and they were printed like this, these 2 could be splashed into probably any deck, and you could easily just have a removal effect that's shuffling cards into the deck, which is one of the best removal effects in the game. So yeah, you got 2 of those. Now we have 2 copies of Etheric Apophis. So this card is different than it was in the anime, I believe, because when it's Xyz summoned, you can draw 2 cards. So another thing, you can splash a copy of Anubis into the deck, get your rank up magic spell searched from your deck, then summon this guy and get an automatic draw 2. So that's another thing that any deck could use. And, well, draw 2 is good for any deck, and it's at minimal cost. You just don't want to draw your Garnet, but like even then, it's still not as much of a Garnet in your hand because it can be used. It can be used in your hand. It's just better to search it out so you have that extra card in your hand that could be something else. But other than that, once per turn, detach a material from this card, target a face-up monster your opponent controls. It loses 2,000 attack, and its effects are negated. So you also get an effect negation, but it's only on your turn, I believe. So yeah, it's only on your turn. That means you can't negate an effect while your opponent's in the middle of doing a chain. You can only do it at the beginning of a chain, and yeah, if they respond to it, then it's, it kind of sucks. It's a good effect. It's just not, like, fast. So I think its best use is the draw 2. Also, if this card destroys a monster by battle, you can add a spell trap card from your graveyard to your hand. While that's a great effect, modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't focus on destroying monsters by battle. It's more about destroying monsters by card effects and negating. But if you do manage to get it off, your advantage will be very substantial. Now, I used to have 2 copies, but I gave one to my sister. So, New Order 7, Etheric Kepper. 2 level 7 monsters. You can also Xyz summon this card by shuffling 3 Etheric and or New Order monsters from your graveyard with different names into the deck. So it's an unconventional way to Xyz summon this card. If summoned this way, the following effect cannot be activated this turn. That's a good limitation. Once per turn, quick effect, you can detach 1 material from this card, special summon 1 monster from your graveyard. So that's a pretty decent effect. The only problem is it's incredibly specific to the New Order archetype, so I don't think it would be very good outside of that, especially since it's a rank 7 monster, which isn't a very common useful rank, because level 7 monsters are hard to come by for the most part in good decks. But it's not a bad card. It's just specific to the archetype, so it would not be good splashed into just any deck. Now we have 2 copies of Etheric Sebek. 2 level 8 monsters. It's a rank 8. If this card is Xyz summoned, add a spell trap card from your deck to your hand. This effect is busted. It's incredibly good. The only problem is the amount of effort you have to go through it if you're rank climbing through a rank up magic spell. But decks like Galaxy Eyes and stuff like that would they would benefit from this card so much, it would actually be insane. Just being able to add any spell or trap card from your deck to your hand is super broken in the competitive sense, and even in like Edison format, it would be broken. So yeah, old Yu-Gi-Oh, new Yu-Gi-Oh, it doesn't matter what, this card will always be good for decks that can Xyz summon rank 8 monsters. So yeah, this card is already broken with that first effect. It can't be destroyed by battle. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, activate a spell or trap card from your hand. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. So already, this card was broken with the first effect, but with that second effect, it basically has a Makura the Destroyer effect, where you can just activate trap cards from your hand, but not only that, but you can activate spell cards. And it's much easier to pull off. So you can literally just have Jars of Greed in your deck and keep playing them like an upstart goblin without your opponent getting the life point gain. So if you have 2 level 8 monsters that you can throw out on the field easily, this is automatically excellent combo starter. And I don't think Konami would ever be able to print this card like this. They would definitely have to make it only be able to be Xyz summoned by the effect of a rank up magic spell, so that way it was a little bit more balanced, and even then, they'd probably have to cut back on some of these effects. And I know some of them are probably unique to Gaia Aura cards who made these, since not all of them have their specific anime effects, but this is just broken. Now we have 1 copy of rank 9 New Order 9 Etheric Seth. 2 level 9 monsters. If it's Xyz summon, target 3 monsters in the graveyard, shuffle those into the deck. And if you do, destroy cards on the field equal to the number of cards shuffled by this effect. It's pretty good. Based off of that alone, it's just shuffling monsters from your graveyard into the deck is kind of bad depending on the deck, because sometimes you want monsters in the graveyard. Also, it's a rank 9, which makes it difficult to summon for most decks. So that definitely throws it off my radar a bit in terms of a good competitive card if they were to make it. It can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects, which is decent protection. Once per turn, you can detach a material from this card, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the number of cards in their hand times 400. So I assume the only way this would be actually competitively viable is if Max C was unbanned, and you would just make your opponent draw a bunch of cards, and then kind of knock them out with this. But other than that, it's a decent card, but I don't think it's anywhere near the previous mention. Now we have New Order 10, Etheric Horus. So once per turn, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can detach a material from this card, make your opponent destroy cards from their field so they control the same number of cards as you, also inflict 500 damage for each card destroyed by this effect. So essentially this card is just a weaker evenly matched, because it makes your opponent destroy cards instead of remove them from the field by their action. And cards that can't be destroyed would be immune to the effect altogether. So say they had 3 cards that can't be destroyed by card effects, and you have only this card on your field, their cards would be pretty much immune. But other than that, it's a decent card, though I think having just a copy of Evenly Matched in your deck would honestly be better than New Order 10. Though I do like the nostalgia of this card, because, I watched the anime a lot, so when I was a kid, so it was nice to get these cards and think about that episode. Next is New Order 11, Etheric Ra. So this is 2 level 11 monsters, which you're likely not going to summon this card without a rank up magic spell, just because of how infrequent level 11 monsters are. But if you guys know a different way to summon this card easily, be sure to let me know. If this card is Xyz summoned, it acts as a Raigeki. Oh no, it acts as a dark hole for every other monster but itself. And you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except New Order monsters. So even if you did summon this out and activate its effect, you're still locked out of stuff, which kind of sucks. But for the sake of this deck, it doesn't matter. But if you were going to use it in another deck, then it wouldn't be great. But it's still usable, I suppose. Once per turn quick effect, if a monster would be special summoned or a monster effect is activated, you can detach 1 material from this card. The summon or activation, negate the summon or activation, and if you do, attach that card to this card as material. So basically, this is a once per turn negate, which is really, really good. The only problem I have with it is that it locks you out of special summoning monsters for the rest of the turn, except New Order monsters, so that can definitely cause some complications, along with the fact that it's a rank 11 monster. But other than that, in terms of this archetype, this is probably one of the best cards in the extra deck, probably right there with New Order 8 and New Order 13. So, New Order 12, Etheric Mahis. I hope I'm saying that right, otherwise I sound like a right fool. Once while face up on the field, quick effect, you can special summon all Xyz materials attached to this card. Also, they cannot be destroyed by monster effects. During the end phase of the turn, you activated this effect, attach all monsters summoned this way to this card as material. When this card leaves the field, destroy any monster special summoned by this effect. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, special summon an Xyz monster from your graveyard. So basically, say you had this guy with 4 Xyz materials, you could activate his effect to summon the Xyz materials that you used for his effect. But at the end of the turn, they all reattach to him. So it's a good beater card, and it has 4,000 attack, rank 12, kind of hard to work with, but, I think the worst part is that it doesn't have any form of viable protection, which could become problematic in today's day and age, because, all sorts of card destruction effects are running rampant in the meta. So this card probably wouldn't work well unless it had some form of protection, even if it was just like from targeting. But the boss monster of the deck is Etheric Amon, which is the first rank 13 monster ever shown on the Zexal anime, and I think is I think right now it's the only rank 13 monster ever thought of, because there's that one Raid Raptor monster, Numeronius Numeronia, and then this card, and this is the only card that isn't printed. So, must be special summoned by the effect of a rank up magic spell card, which I think all of these should be. I think they should, the ones that I have issue with should be buffed, and then should have that stipulation that they need to be summoned by a rank up magic spell card. That way they'll still be good, but they won't be able to be thrown into just any old deck. It's a deck that actively has to rely on a rank up magic spell card. So that way, these cards don't break the meta, because I know New Order 8 would probably break the meta for Galaxy Eyes, or anything else that can get level 8s out on the field really quickly. So, New Order 13 must be special summoned by a rank up magic spell card, cannot be summoned by other ways, cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and it gains 100 attack for each material attached to it. When this card is special summoned, target one monster your opponent controls, attach a number of cards from the top of your opponent's deck to this card as materials equal to the difference in levels/ranks between this card and that monster. When exactly one monster is special summoned from the extra deck to your opponent's field, attach a number of cards from the top of your opponent's deck to this card as Xyz materials equal to the difference in levels/ranks between this card and that monster. So, this card was buffed from the anime, because usually it only worked for Xyz summons. Now it works for just any summon, basically making it a mill card and a powerhouse. But what makes it the best kind of mill card is that your opponent will never get to use the monster effects of the card milled, because they'll be attached to this guy as material. So, honestly, I love this boss monster. While it doesn't have the best protection in the world, because it can be kaiju'd and stuff like that, and have its effects negated, of course, it's still a really, really decent card, and I hope that they bring all the New Order cards into the legitimate card game, but it's hard to say for sure what they will or won't do. I know they're coming out with tons of support for, like, Clear World and stuff like that. So it seems that they're doing a lot of nostalgia baiting, which I don't mind. I just hope that they actually keep going with the route that they're going to add more cards. So I'll also show one more deck, and then I have some new cards on the way soon. So I'll actually be able to show you guys those cards. But we'll go over... We can probably go over my Sunavalon deck. I don't know if I still have all the cards in it, and it's not sleeved, so feel free to, yell at me in the comments if you don't like that they're not sleeved, but I don't have enough good sleeves for my cards. I have a lot of them that just slide off easily, and I hate those. So we'll go over this. It's not super organized right now, but I'm pretty sure I have a 40-card main deck and then the extra deck. So we have Black Rose Dragon, a favorite card of my sister's. Sunavalon Dryatrentier, one copy of that. By the way, this is before the ban list, so I think I have 3 copies of Dryas, which is no longer legal. I have Sunavalon Dryanome. I don't even remember how to pronounce the name. Dryadus? I have a copy of that. Yeah, I think I took out my, okay, yeah, I took out my other copies of Dryas. So I have I have one copy of Dryas, and then one copy of Dryas. Two copies of Melius. When I make decks, I typically like to stay to the archetype just because I like the cards in the show, and I like using the cards that the person in the show used. Two copies of Sunavalon Daphne. I know this card is a very, very crappy Link 2 monster, but I keep it nonetheless. It's a Sunavalon card, might as well use it. Three copies of Thrasher, a very important card for this deck. One copy of Sunvine Healer, because I'm pretty sure that got limited. I have Sunseed Genius Loci, 3 copies. Lone Fire Blossom, 3 copies. Angel Trumpeter, 3 copies. Sunseed Shadow, I don't know how many I have. Sunseed Twin, I should have 2 of. 1 copy of World Carat Weight Champion. I'm going to organize them real quick, and then we'll go back to the deck list, so that way you guys can actually read the cards as I show them on screen, because I'd hate to, you know, not show you guys the cards. But for the most part, this entire deck's goal is to get a plant normal monster out of the deck, specifically this one, but I have this one as a backup too, in case I don't get any of the cards for Genius Loci. It's very, very important to get the plant normal monster going. Otherwise, your plays are kind of going to be rough. But, okay. And mind you, I built this deck a couple years back. I don't remember specifically when, but I built it pretty much the second all these cards came out into print, so it's not going to be the most balanced deck, so you're not going to get good draws every time, and there's no need for 3 copies of Sunseed Shadow, but I do it anyway. So 3 copies of Sunseed Shadow, you can read that as you'd like. Three copies of Angel Trumpeter, which is honestly a great vanilla monster, all things considered, because it's a tuner, level 4, 1900 beat stick with 1600 defense, so pretty good, pretty good. 3 copies of Genius Loci, probably the most important card in the main deck, because your whole goal is to get these out. Now we have 3 copies of Lone Fire Blossom, because you contribute it, or one other face-up plant monster you control to special summon another plant monster from your deck. Basically a super easy way to get Genius Loci out, or other Sunseed monsters. So now we have 3 copies of Sunseed Twin, super important for getting a bunch of plant monsters out on the field, and can be easily recycled with a card like Sunvine Shrine. I think 2 copies of Unexpected Die. I would normally keep 3, but I kept bricking with it because, like I said, this deck isn't perfectly made. So if you control no monsters, special summon a level 4 or lower normal monster. That's how you get Genius Loci out. Now we'll have 3 copies of Sunvine Maiden, basically protection for your cards, because this deck doesn't have a lot of cards that offer protection, so this is your way to get that. A single copy of Monster Reborn. I just like having classic cards in the deck. Whenever I can throw it in there. And Monster Reborn isn't too cheesy for a deck like this, because you're not going to be Monster Reborning super powerful cards. It's mostly just going to be combo starters. We have a single copy of World Carat Weight Champ. If this card is in your graveyard, send a plant monster from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard to special summon this card. So it's just an easy way to get some link plays if you aren't able to special summon further from your hand. Now we have 3 copies of Rescue Rabbit. This is a very easy way to get 2 copies of Genius Loci out of the deck. Otherwise, it's a bad card to draw into. Well, not really. I suppose it's also good to draw into because we have those 3 copies of Angel Trumpeter in the deck. Oh, and also, these decks are mostly used for fun, so you're not going to find cards like Ash Blossom and Evenly Matched or Lightning Storm in here. It's mostly going to be just decks based off of decks the characters have used or slightly altered to make them more consistent, but still mostly for fun duels. 1 copy of 1 for Genius Loci. 2 copies of Evil Swarm Mandragora, so if your opponent controls more monsters than you, special summon it. Easy as that. 2 Sunvine Shrine. This card can probably be at just 1, but, it's to each their own. I like having 2 copies personally, but it's up to you guys, If you were to get this deck, I'm sure you would spruce it up more than I have. Normally I'd have 3 copies of these, but I have 1 copy of World Legacy Succession. It's a really good card for this deck, and I highly recommend that you have 3 copies. Running 3 copies will just be better in general. So yeah, I highly recommend that. But other than that, we'll be moving on to the best spell card in this deck, Sunvine Sowing, which can be searched out by Sunavalon Dryas, and this is the most instrumental card to keeping your combos moving and having that snowball effect of, once you get that one thing going, it gets to be a pretty strong board, honestly. It's not going to be perfect by any means, but I've seen some OTKs with this card being the centerpiece. You probably only need 1 or 2 copies, realistically, but having 3 copies isn't going to hurt. 2 copies of Sunavalon Bloom, basically negating all the monster effects on the current board and offering Sunavalon Dryatrentier a chance to beat down on opponents. 1 copy of Rose Lover, so you can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon a plant monster from your hand, and if you do, it's unaffected by trap effects this turn. You can only use this once per turn. Honestly, it's only good for the special summon, not for the unaffected by trap cards, really. Now this card, I threw in there, upon discovering it, Ibisella lutea. Don't know how to pronounce that specifically, but you get what I mean. It's a level 4 plant earth monster, and it says cannot be destroyed by battle while you control another monster, and neither player can target face-up spell traps you control with card effects. This card I've had a lot of fun with in fun duels because if I have Sunvine Shrine and or Sunvine Bloom on the field, I can have 2 of these guys, and my opponent literally cannot destroy any of my monsters by battle or my spell and trap cards by card effects. Now, the best part is if you have this card in Sunavalon Dryas. So if you summon this card and have it in attack mode for a turn, you can switch it to defense mode, and your opponent can only target this card for attacks since Dryas will not be able to be targeted for an attack. Or you can keep it in attack mode to keep recycling Dryas, Dryadis, and Dryanome's effects over and over and over. But that's basically the gist of the deck. If there are any questions, comments, or concerns, be sure to throw all that in the comment section. If there are any decks that you'd like me to do reviews on, or even custom cards, feel free to let me know. I currently ordered cards that I had custom made that are based off of the Pharaoh's final duel in the anime. So be sure to check out that video coming out next week, and I'll see you guys later.